All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, receiving a 3-year contract extension. And we will talk about, if that's a good move or not. And, he's been with the Ravens since, I think he's been the head coach since 2008. He's been there a long time. He's one of the longest tenured head coaches, left in the NFL. You got him and Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. But this 3-year extension, so he was set to enter the 2025 season on the final year of his current deal, and the Ravens tacked on 3 more years. So this will take him through the 2028 season. So he's not going anywhere. And, it wasn't looking good. I would say it wasn't looking good for him around, between the 2015 and the 2017 season. Because, 2015, the Ravens got ravaged by injuries, right? I mean, everybody got hurt. On defense, Flacco got hurt as well. 2016, they just missed out on the playoffs. Same thing with 2017, right? 2016, Antonio Brown, reached over the goal line, basically knocked the Ravens out of winning the division. They ended up missing the playoffs. And then 2017, they looked like they were going to make it, and then Andy Dalton on 4th and 12 hit Tyler Boyd for the touchdown, and that sent the Bills to the playoffs. So 2018 was a crucial year for him, and then Lamar Jackson stepped in. Flacco gets hurt, Lamar Jackson comes in, and, we know the rest of the story there. The Ravens have pretty much made the playoffs every single year. The only time they've really missed in the Lamar Jackson era was 2021, and that was because Lamar Jackson got hurt. So Harbaugh's career record, I think this is what it is, but he's been there since 2008. Like I said, he has a 172 and 104 record, which is very good. He led the Ravens to their Super Bowl 47 victory over the 49ers. That was back in 2013. Yes, he is the second longest tenured NFL head coach besides Mike Tomlin. And a lot of changes have been made over the years. They've gone through 7 offensive coordinators, 7 defensive coordinators during his tenure. 5 former coordinators and 4 other assistants have gone on to become NFL head coaches. I mean, most recently had Mike McDonald with the Seahawks now. And the Ravens are coming off of a good year. I know they got knocked out in the second round, but, Lamar Jackson, he was up there once again for MVP. They got to the divisional round, and they had a chance to win it if it wasn't for turnovers and missed opportunities. But you also had 11 Pro Bowlers on this squad, and the offense was very good. Bringing in Derrick Henry was a smart move, and like I said, Lamar Jackson once again up there for MVP. But I know there are some Ravens fans that aren't happy about this because they want to see this team go far. You have Lamar Jackson, who's an MVP candidate every year. The defense is usually good, although it did struggle last season against the pass. Against the run, they were very good, but against the pass, they struggled. But this team always seems to come up short. And I think that's where Ravens fans are saying, hey, we want change. We don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I understand that. Because, yeah, they've made the playoffs basically every year. But, since Lamar Jackson became the starter, 2018, they were one and done. 2019, they were one and done. 2020, they did win a playoff game against the Titans, who knocked them out the previous season. But then they lost to the Bills. 2021, they didn't make it. 2022, they got knocked out in the first round. You had Tyler Huntley starting. You lost to Joe Burrow and the Bengals, which you actually could have won that game. Had an opportunity to do that. 2023, you make it all the way to the championship game, and then you end up losing to the Chiefs. And then last year, you lose to the Bills again in Buffalo. So it's one of those things where you're like, when are the Ravens going to break through? because they have the talent, but is it more than just that? Is the coaching. And I think when you look at the championship game when they played against the Chiefs, right? The Ravens abandoned the run very early on in that game. They only ran the ball 6 times. People blame Harbaugh for that. Like, why are they not running the ball? The Ravens defense, which was better in 2023 than it was in 2024, they kept the Ravens in that game. And maybe they should have committed to the run more. And I feel like it was kind of a similar thing with the divisional round against the Bills. But then again, that was a bigger deficit. The Chiefs, that game was close throughout. The Ravens, they didn't pull off anything, but they closed the gap in the second half. Derrick Henry really didn't have any big plays in that game. Did have a big drop early on in the game, but still, it's things like that people complain about. I think John Harbaugh is a very good coach. If I was an NFL team that, is looking for stability and has kind of been going through different head coaches constantly, that's a guy I would immediately take. This guy is still a very good head coach. It's just, you have a team like the Ravens that have high expectations, and this is a team that hasn't been able to break through. Similar to the Bills, right? When is that going to happen? And also, take a look at the team in their own division, the Steelers. It's been even worse for them because, yeah, they make the playoffs every year, but they don't win anything in the playoffs. They just get to the playoffs, and then they lose to a superior opponent. And this year it was the Ravens. So, and it is amazing because, I'm a Giant fan, right? I would take John Harbaugh, I would take Mike Tomlin in a heartbeat if they were available. Now, I hope Brian Daboll has a great year. I really do. I like Daboll, and I want to see him succeed. But if, you have an opportunity to get one of these guys, you pick up that phone immediately. There is no second thought. You pick up the phone and you say, hey, I want you to coach my team. And my dog agrees. So, yeah, I get it from the fan base's perspective that, look, they want to see this team go further. But then there's also this other argument that comes into play. What would be the alternative then? Who are the Ravens going to bring in? Who are the Steelers going to bring in that is going to be better than what you currently have? Mike McDonald with the Ravens, he's now with the Seahawks. So I don't know, what they have in the coaching staff. Would you promote who you have on the coaching staff to be head coach? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't think. Unless you're like, hey, let's bring in Bill Belichick, stealing from North Carolina. I don't really think there's anybody out there that you could bring in and say they're going to do a better job right now. Unless, someone brings a name to the table that, maybe I'm not saying and says this is the guy that would be a better option. John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, they shouldn't be losing their jobs unless you have a strong alternative. That's just how I look at it. So I do like this extension for the Ravens because, again, what would the alternative be? The Ravens are a good team, a very good team. It's just we're in this weird era right now. They haven't been able to take that next step and knock off that team in the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they haven't been able to knock off the Bills in the playoffs most recently. They've had to play them in Buffalo. The pecking order is the Chiefs, then the Bills, and then the Ravens. And against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and, nope, not Joe Burrow. Didn't play Joe Burrow because he wasn't playing in that game, Lamar. He's 0-3 against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. So, and Lamar Jackson, he's at fault. He didn't play well in the championship game against the Chiefs, and he didn't play well in the first half against the Bills. And had he played better, if he didn't turn the ball over, that could have made the difference. But that didn't happen. So I think there's a lot more blame to go around than just John Harbaugh. But yeah, I think the extension is good. I'm good with it. What do you guys think, though, about the extension for John Harbaugh? Do you like it? Do you think the Ravens should have just let 2025 play out? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining. Between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers, we appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day. So any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That's GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we're going to talk some baseball. We are going to talk about Jurickson Profar being suspended for 80 games, and just talk about the Braves and the start that they've gotten off to. Right now, they have the worst record in baseball, really. One of the worst records in baseball. I have to make sure, go and fact check and make sure it is the worst one. But yeah, they haven't won a game yet. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the future of Brian Snitker, their manager, as well. So a few things to talk about the Braves when we come back from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.